Heyo, Bucks fans, welcome to Fear the Deer Friday. I am Tyler, one of the somewhat hosts for the show on Twitter at Tyler Kurth. Joining me on the other side is Trevor. You can find him at Bender_Trevor. We are part of the Wisconsin Sports Trilogy podcast. You can find us on Twitter at Trilogy_pod. Our full-length podcasts are ran by the Vanilla Gorilla, who is our Bucks expert. So we are flying without him here today to really discuss the rumors regarding James Harden. I mean, it's the elephant in the room all day that he said the Bucks are a landing destination for him, and I felt like we should discuss it. So the Brewers would obviously have to acquire him via trade. So I think the first question to address here is this even possible? What do you think, Trevor?
Well, the way you worded that, no, because the Brewers are not going to trade for James Harden.
Oh, shit.
But the Bucks, we were kind of talking about this before we started recording of, like, is a trade possible? And I am no salary cap expert, so I can't tell you for sure. I imagine a trade would be pretty hard, but I don't know if it's impossible. To me, if you're going to trade for James Harden, which we can talk about if that's a good idea or not in a little bit, but if you're going to trade for James Harden, 100% that means Chris Middleton is being traded, a part of that trade, because there's just no way to keep both of them. I don't think, the Bucks are already up against the cap, and adding James Harden, who's making $8 million more than Chris Middleton right now, you're not going to be able to keep both of them. So you're going to have to trade Chris Middleton away. And then to make the money work, you add DJ Wilson in. That's $4.5 million there. So now we're getting to, $3.5 million that we need to cover yet to make the money even. Going down the list, Portis is 3.6. I don't think they want to get rid of him. Dante DiVincenzo seems like a better option. He's slightly lower than that at $3 million. So would a Chris Middleton, DJ Wilson, Dante DiVincenzo, and that puts the Bucks number right below what James Harden would make in terms of their salary cap they're giving. So would that work? Potentially. That could be an option. But if this trade is about to happen, the Rockets are going to have to take those three players and probably 2 second-round picks, because it's not like the Bucks have any first-round picks to give up. So are the Rockets going to take that? I would guess no. I think they would probably be pretty stupid to do that, because James Harden is controllable for a while. To me, that would just be stupid to make that deal, because he is under contract this year and next season, and then also has a player option, which if he stays in Houston, obviously he's not going to sign. But there's a potential that you could have him this season and 2 seasons beyond. So it's going to cost, in my opinion, more than Chris Middleton, DJ Wilson, Dante DiVincenzo in a couple seconds. But the Bucks, I don't think, can offer much more. So I would say highly unlikely, but hopefully the Rockets are stupid, I guess.
Well, I mean, hopefully James Harden's recent behavior is contagious then. Because, I mean, the Rockets organization is, slowly becoming a giant mess. It almost feels like, who was it? Like Antonio Brown from the NFL, like no team just wanted him, get rid of him. Like, I feel like that's the route James Harden is going. But who knows? I mean, you touched on a lot of the points. I was like, you have no draft capital to really give up. Chris Middleton would have to be included. And just out there in the league, I feel like there are other teams who have a lot more to offer. And even if you somehow, manage to convince the Rockets, hey, have our draft picks, the Bucks are going to be freaking amazing. Like, those draft picks are going to mean absolutely nothing to the Rockets unless they use them to trade up or whatever reason. But yeah, just not a lot to offer from a player standpoint. And yeah, financially is just a whole nother headache to really consider. So I really don't foresee it happening either.
Yeah, yeah, like I said, the Rockets would have to make a stupid mistake for it to happen, I think, because I believe the package I just laid out is probably the best one that the Bucks can offer. I don't know what more they can offer. If you're bringing in James Harden, clearly you are 1000% championship or bust, and Bud might have to say it after that, because if you have Giannis, James Harden, Drew Holiday, Brooke Lopez, you have to win it at that point. And clearly, if that move happens, I think that's like, okay, Giannis is like, okay, this team's for real. They are figuring out how to win for me. I don't know how they're going to deal with the cap space down the future, but this is something that they're showing me that they're ready to do everything they can to make my legacy great by winning championships. So let's go out and let's sign this contract and do that stuff. So it would, I think, even though James Harden, I am not a huge fan of his game. I don't like that he doesn't play defense. I don't like how much of a little bitch he is, if I'm being frank. I don't like that part, but also he's one of the most talented players in the league. And having him on the team, and if it means having Giannis for another 5 years, it's worth it. And as long as he comes in and this is the place he wants to be, I think the locker room wouldn't be a huge concern for me because he'd want to be here. So to me, I think the move would make some sense. I just have a very hard time seeing it actually coming through and happening. Unless John Horst can work some voodoo magic, I really don't see it happening, but it definitely would instantly make this the team to beat. It would, having James Harden at the end of games with Drew Holiday, who can make those shots and be clutch as well. And then you have Giannis on the court too. And then you have Brooke Lopez out sitting at the corner. Like, how are you going to stop that team if they need points in the fourth quarter? They're going to fucking score them with that lineup out there because you hand it to Giannis, they double team him, and then one of those guys is open, and it's going to be an easy shot. And so you have those four players out there, and then you throw out like a Bryn Forbes or something who is a knockdown shooter. Like, there's no way you can stop any. Like, they're going to score whenever they want, and they are going to be 125 points per game type of team. It would just be incredible. But like I said, I don't know how it would happen with the situation the Bucks have, the lack of draft capital, the lack of really players that they could send over in a deal. I really do not see it happening.
Yeah, I agree. And it's going to be like a whole nother thing if Giannis is like, hey, go out and get this guy, because then the Bucks feel obligated to do so to make him re-sign that deal, which we talked about on the podcast as well. If Harden does come to the Bucks, got it right this time, that is kind of like a whole nother ordeal though too. Like, yeah, it'd be kind of cool. Like, you in theory could have one of these guys on the court for the entire 48 minutes, like between alternating their playing time, which is good for your team. But when they're on the court at the same time, how is that going to work? I mean, in the last couple of years, James Harden has played with Russell Westbrook, Chris Paul, probably the biggest superstars that he's played with. But Giannis is a whole different animal, and both of these guys want the ball in their hand. So at the start of games in the fourth quarter, how does all of that get handled? Is Harden going to like take away from some of Giannis's abilities, or is he going to get frustrated with that? I don't know, but it does make me a little concerned.
Yeah, and if we're strictly talking on the court, I think if these two get on the same team, they're going to have a conversation and know, we aren't going to be able to each have the usage rates that we're used to having, because it's just not going to happen. Looking back, if you look at James Harden's usage rate It was 30.7. I believe that was last year. He was 30.7 in usage rates. And Giannis isn't far behind him. He's used, just as much. And actually, now I'm looking back, and it's for the 2020 season, and at that point they only played 50 games. This is from Behind the Bucks Pass for Fansided. They have an article out that through 50 games in 2020, he had a usage percentage of 37, over 37. So clearly there would have to be some sort of communication between these two, and you have to add Drew Holiday into that mix. Like, you're going to have to sit down and talk and say, maybe it's beginning of games, Giannis just goes out there and he kind of has control of the offense. He's driving, taking and scoring when he can, dishing out when he needs to. And James Harden is going to be kind of your closer, the guy that's going to maybe run the offense in the last 2 minutes of games. And if they don't have egos and they're just like, we're here to win a championship, and they don't have egos, it could work. But if they bring out their egos and they're like, no, I want the ball in the last 2 minutes, no, I want the ball in the last 2 minutes, then it's probably not going to work. So clearly there needs to be some constant communication, and the players need to be team oriented. Otherwise it's not going to work. But if they are, this offense could be historically great. But like I said in the beginning of the podcast, I don't foresee it happening. So until it does, I think any more conversations about it might be a little premature.
It's fair. I mean, if it's really all about winning, you might as well throw James Harden back into his 6-man role from when he was with the Thunder when he first got into the league. That would be hilarious.
I think James Harden is at a different level than when he was a 6-man for the Thunder.
Yeah, just a little bit. But I mean, offensively, you're right. Like, holy cow, this would be a force to be reckoned with. Even with, you'd most likely lose Chris Middleton in this trade. He's by no means a very strong defensive player, but Harden is definitely a downgrade defensively. Is he going to get you some flopping turnovers? Sure, I guess so. But that's about it. So, I mean, I think his offense would make up for it. And in the end, you'd still be a better team. But personality-wise, does he fit in? Locker room? I don't really know. I'm not convinced.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll have to wait and see. Like I said, I think we can't really expect this, and if you are expecting it, I think you're a little bit crazy. I literally shared this with my group chat at Dairyland Express and said, yeah, this is never going to happen. But it's kind of cool that the Bucks are mentioned in this, and if John Horst pulls off that voodoo magic that I'm talking about, it'll definitely be a very, very intriguing year, and a year that would definitely make me confident that Giannis is like, okay, this team's for real. They want to win. They want to help me win, all of these different things. So that'll be something to monitor. And I was looking at a couple things on Twitter regarding the James Harden thing. So NBA Central tweeted out earlier today, the Miami Heat have been unwilling to include Tyler Hero in any package for James Harden. They clearly don't want to win, because what? I get Tyler Hero had a good season and he could be a very good player, but James Harden's a bona fide superstar. So what? And also, this one hurt my heart a little bit. It's a GIF of Doc Rivers just looking dumbfounded. And it says above it, the Bucks seeing this and realizing they gave up 3 firsts for Drew Holiday.
Yeah, that's fair.
I love Drew Holiday, and that I love him on the Bucks. We talked about it on the Full Length podcast. I'm really, really excited for him. But this, if they could have give up 2 and potentially could use a third, I actually only think they gave up 2, and they gave up 2 pick swaps technically, which they're probably not even going to be able to use, the Pelicans. So I think that is a little outdated. I think actually they only gave up 2 firsts with 2 first pick swaps, but you get the point, right? if they would have been able to do a first and a second, that would have been the ability to then offer that package I lined up. But instead of 2 seconds, maybe a first and a second. That could have been something that could potentially be a little bit more intriguing. So, like I said, I think that's probably enough until it actually happens, and we can examine what it would mean for the offense a little bit more. And if you want to listen to us talk about potentially what's happening with Giannis, what was going on with Drew Holiday in training camp, because that is awesome. Make sure you check out our full-length podcast at Trilogy_pod on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And that would be the best way to find that stuff. I thought we had a very interesting conversation about all of those. Scott was spot on in that podcast episode. I thought he was hilarious, telling Giannis that if he wants ice cream every day, that Scott would drive 5 hours one way to give it to him every single day. Giannis, we're here for you. We're ready to do anything to keep you in Milwaukee. Just let us know what it is. Again, I'm sure he's listening, so just DM us at Bender_Trevor and at Tyler Kurth, and then also at Vanilla7Gorilla, and he'll get you all the ice cream you need. So hit us up. We'll help you out. But that's going to be it for us this week. Again, make sure you're checking out all of our full-length podcasts on the Bucks, the Brewers, and the Packers. And come back here next Friday for more Fear the Deer Friday. Go Bucks.
Fear the Deer.